Hey guys, welcome back to the Veteran Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm joined by my co-host Elvin Lantigua, and today we have on Chandler Russell. He is a active duty Marine out in Camp Pendleton, and thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. And I wish I was at Camp Pendleton. I'm actually at 29 Palms, so I'm in the middle of the desert.
I thought you were in Pendleton.
No, that'd be cool if I was. You know, if you want to put in a good word for me, get me sent out there, I wouldn't mind. But
yeah, I know a few people.
Yeah, out in the desert.
All right. How long have you been out there for?
I've been out here for just over 2.5 years. So
you do to rotate
my current tour. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know where you're going? You got orders?
So the plan right now is I'm actually going to EAS and go back and do the reserves. I was in the infantry reserves for 8 years as an enlisted guy before I, crossed over to the dark side and became an officer. And I'm ground intel right now is my current MOS. But with that comes, the 0302 infantry officer thing. So I'm moving back into infantry and looking to head back to my old battalion and either go take over there like Scout Sniper Platoon, could be an XO, Cap Platoon Commander, something like that.
So how does that work, actually? Because I was in an infantry battalion for my first enlistment, and so you actually have a primary MOS of an O2 XX, and then mostly the 2 Alpha usually goes to the Scout Sniper Platoon, right?
Yeah, so the way it works for all ground intel officers is like we all go to OCS, and then we go to TBS, and then after that, for the ground intel guys, we go to Infantry Officers Course, and we pick up the MOS of 0302, just like all the other grunts. But then where the infantry officers then go immediately to the fleet and pick up their first platoon, we then go on to Scout Sniper Unit Leaders Course, and then after that, we go to Ground Intel School. And then from there, we go to our units, and then, we'll pick up either our first platoon or our first gig is like an S2 Alpha, or in my case, I picked up 2 gigs simultaneously. I became the S2 for first tanks while also picking up their scout platoon out here, and that was how I kicked off my career as a ground intel officer. So
that's actually a really cool path. I didn't know that. I mean, I knew some of it, I guess, but to hear it sort of laid out like that, that's got to be pretty cool, especially going from an enlisted infantry background.
Yeah, no, it was great. Like the training pipeline was something like I couldn't say enough good things about the training pipeline. Now, in terms of the actual execution for most officers, when you actually get to the fleet, so there were 27 of us in our class, and only like 4 of us picked up scout sniper platoons. Ooh. And then the platoon I picked up wasn't even a scout sniper platoon. It was a scout platoon, which in the tank community is like it's basically almost like the same thing as a scout or a cap platoon. It's a concentration of 0352s, and right. You're just basically the forward eyes and ears of the battalion. So I grabbed those guys for, a short little stint, and then I just went straight to being the S2 after that. But most guys in the intel world, they just go straight to a desk job, and then they just slowly die,
Yeah.
They do all this cool training, and then they just go sit behind a desk. They make a bunch of weather slides and PowerPoints, and then wonder why they spent the last 2 years of their life trying to go, kill people. So.
Amen. Yeah, my wife she was active duty. She's now in the reserves, but she's an O2. But yeah, so I have some, generic insight to the MOS, which is a cool MOS, by the way. So like I always try to convince people to consider lat moving into that MOS, because it's such an interesting MOS, especially if you get to some of the COCOMs and some of the bigger commands where you're actually doing real work. You know what I mean? As far as that goes.
When you do the operational stuff, it's amazing.
Right. At the battalion level, it kind of stinks because you're basically just doing security stuff. But yeah, so you were recently, you went down, how I came across you actually, or one of the ways I came across you was I came across your video about your reconnaissance journey, going to recon school.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah. I was really taken back about how honest you were and how like forthcoming you were. And it kind of, it made me like think, I was like, man, like that's gotta be hard to put out there like that. Cause this is this guy's lifelong dream. And, he had to pull back for personal reasons, and, that's respectable. Cause you obviously prioritize whatever it is that you needed to prioritize. And that was right for you at the time. But that sort of drew me to you. I was like, man, I got to talk to this guy. And then obviously your page is super, it's eccentric and it's crazy and it's fun and it's, and it's you screaming in microphones and it's you painting your face to play video games and I mean, you can see every emotion on that page. You can go through and scroll and it's like, it's just a world of fun. So, but yeah, can you tell us a little bit about, you know, I guess your journey through the recon course, and you don't have to go into the personal reasons as to why you dropped, but
Yeah, well, no, I'm okay with sharing it. So, like recon was always the thing that I wanted to do even when I was an enlisted guy. You know, so like a lot of young dudes when they enlist when they're like 18, you know, I walked in the recruiter's office and I was like, hey, I want the job that lets me kill terrorists. You know, how can I do that? And he told me infantry right off the bat. I didn't really know what you know, we didn't like MARSOC was like which is special operations, you know, in the Marine Corps. Like that was a brand new thing that no one really knew about or talked about. So like recon was like the Marine Corps' shining gold child. But I didn't really know about it until I was already in 0311, already with my unit, already gearing up to deploy because I was just some naive kid. But when I found out about it, I was like, well, shit, man, that's cool. Like, I would love to be a part of that community. But for whatever reason, like, you know, career, school, like I was in the middle of trying to finish a bachelor's degree at the time. And one thing after another just kept getting put back on the back burner. So when I decided to commission, I was like, well, this time I'm going to do the recon. Like, I'm going to give the recon thing like a solid chance and a solid try. But, you know, for the officer side, even if you're prior enlisted, like you still got to finish up almost an entire tour as an officer before you can even apply to become a recon officer. So you gotta like already be selected to be a captain. You've already got to be, you know, on the career designated path. So like you can't just go in there as like a brand new second lieutenant and be like, hey guys, you know, I'd like to be a recon officer. Like they'd be like, cool man, like there's the door. You know? So, and I don't blame them. Like I wouldn't put me a brand new lieutenant in charge of that either. But so I finally had a chance to go, and they were like, this is the only shot you're going to have on active duty to be a recon officer because the intel population is so low. And when I got the chance to go, I went, and it was an awesome experience. I was only there for a few weeks, but it was like the kick in the ass that I was always hoping for, because I think a lot of guys had this experience when they join the military. Like they think like the training level is just going to be like crazy high, and they like psych themselves up for it. And then they get there and they're like, oh shit, this is kind of easy. You know, like not easy, but like you thought it was going to be more for a lot of people, you know, and that was always kind of my experience in the military, was like, it was challenging, but like not the challenge I thought it was going to be. And like going to BRC and RTAP was like that was finally the kick in the dick that I was looking for. And I mean, I was like, shoot, like this is where I want to be. But so my during the 4 years of becoming an officer, my wife and I had our first child. And being a dad like changed my perspective on a lot of things. And my wife was in a position where she's got like a lot of family, needs a home. I don't want to go into that too much because they're personal to her. But kind of the contingency for me going to recon was like, hey, if they're going to send you to Oki, then like we won't follow you there. Like you'll be on your own. Like we're all about going to, you know, 2nd Battalion, 1st Battalion, California, but like, because Japan's a much higher op tempo, like, you know, I'd be looking at like 2 to 3 deployments over there and being gone all the time. Whereas like 1st Recon, 2nd Recon, I'd do like 1, maybe 2 deployments in the 4 years I'd be there, you know? So op tempo is a little bit lower. And so that was kind of like our compromise. It was like, all right, you know, like we'll go ahead and do that. So I got there and they were like, yeah, we're going to send you to Okinawa. I was like, damn it. You know, like that was,
what? No way.
The
Marine
Corps?
Corps?
That was like the no-go criteria. So I had to take a long, hard look at it, and I was just like, damn it. You know, like, this is something I've always wanted, but like, I wasn't going to tear my family apart for it. You know what I mean? So I decided to pull the plug on it and call it quits. But like, I've always had kind of like an aggressive personality, which is why like, I'm going to be moving back into the infantry. And my plan is, you know, there's 4th Recon, which is a reserve unit. And
right.
They told me at BRC, like, hey, if you want, you can come back in 2 years, you know, and give it another go. Whereas like my monitor on active duty was like, hey, like if you're going to stay on active duty, we're not going to send you back because we're so short on intel officers. So like my only chance to really like make this work while still having a family, while doing everything else is to go the reserve route, go be a grunt for a little bit, and then give BRC a second chance like 2 years from now. So that's right now, like that's my trajectory in terms of what I'm looking to do.
So did you graduate the course and then get
No,
orders, or did they slate you for orders before that?
So they're pretty, like the CO there is pretty awesome. He was just like straight open and honest with us, like from the get-go, because like he's like, I understand, like, this is an optional thing. Like, you know, none of you have to be here. He's like, just know that if you're going to stay, like, this is what we're going to do with you. So make the choice now. You know what I mean? It was only a few weeks into it, and I was like, you know, I appreciate him letting me know, as opposed to, like, at the end of the course, if you graduate, then you're committed. And, like, you're going. You know what I mean? Like, you just got the Marine Corps money and training you. And so it would have been like, gotcha, bitch. You know, you're going to Oki. And, yeah. So I appreciate him, like, letting us go ahead of time. Like, hey, man, if this is going to be a problem, like, raise your hand and say so now. So, and that's basically what happened. A couple weeks into it, I was just like, after wrestling with it and trying to figure out what to do, just had to make the right choice for my family. That, and on top of that, we were trying to have a second kid, and becoming a parent and all that, just like, it changes the dynamic of, you know, what you're going to do career-wise.
Super differently. Yeah, everything. Like, you know, I think we're all dads here. So you get that first kid, and it's like, oh, I'm not, it's just not important anymore, but this person is. And
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
important, you know, if possible, that you can be there as much as possible. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, oh, good job. You know, it's not an easy call to make. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you know, good on you.
It's tough. I wish I would have followed this path, you know, like 10 years ago. That's kind of, you know, do this stuff when you're young. Because I'm like, I'm in my 30s now. And, yeah, if I go back and do it all over again. So if, like, anyone's listening who's, like, you know, on the younger side of things, and they're thinking about, like, maybe putting that off and doing it down the road, like, don't. Like, take those chances when you're young, roll those dice when you're young, and it's just you, because, like, that's the best time to do it. So.
It wasn't like you were just like staying around. Like you were going to college too while you were in. You could, you know, talk about that and how that plays in, because it wasn't just like, you know, my first 4 years were a lot of like not studying. And so it just sounds like since you were in, you know, you really just took this solid path towards this goal. Could you get into how, you know, doing college and the Marine Corps at the same time?
Yeah, so for me, the way it kind of worked out for me is, like, I joined the reserves initially, but my unit activated as soon as I joined, and we did a 13-month workup before deploying. So I was on active duty, and when I joined, I was 18, but I was homeschooled, and I started college young. So I was already a senior in college when I joined the Marine Corps, and everyone was like, oh, just wait and become an officer. But I was like, no, I'm just gonna, like, I just wanted to be an enlisted grunt. Like, that was what I wanted to do. So I was already kind of, I guess, like, ahead of the game a little bit in that sense. So we did a 13-month workup, and then we deployed for 6 months. So, like, between, like, I was gone for more than 2 years from the point of leaving the boot camp and then finally, like, coming back home. It's like my first experience of being a reservist, you know, was like, I'd already been in the Marine Corps for 2.5 years and already had a deployment under my belt. And, you know, so, like, it wasn't most people's, like, normal experience. I'd gone to, like, 6 schools and all that kind of stuff. So at that point, that's when I got back to college, knocked out my last year, and then just worked on the civilian sector side for a little bit. I pursued a graduate degree, got a master's degree in business administration. And it was during that time that I kind of, like, was working on music for a little bit and got married. And then, but ultimately, like, it was really the recon thing that kind of brought me back into the Marine Corps, because it was like one of those boxes that I, you know, hadn't checked yet. And I just had always kind of had that hanging over me of, like, you know, wanting to become an officer, wanting to go recon. And so, yeah, I was like, I'll go give this another shot, you know, and I might as well do it now. So that's kind of what took me back into active duty. And then, yeah, life changes. Life's always throwing you curveballs, you know what I mean? It never goes the way you think. And yeah, it's kind of crazy, but.
Yeah. So there's always 4th Recon, right? And is that in Texas?
Yeah, their headquarters, I think, are in San Antonio, but then they've got, you know, a company in California. They got a company in Hawaii, and then a company in Alabama.
Okay. So you still have that option.
Yeah, it's still a possibility. It's not, you know.
You're still young, man. Like, yeah, you got something there.
I like to think so, but
yeah. So as far as music goes, I know you have a big presence. I've seen some of your stuff on Spotify. I know you've had a lot of success actually here recently, right? Like I put you have like almost 100,000 listeners. Is that accurate?
So I've got a few songs that have over 100,000 streams. And I just had another one of my singles that hit 100,000 streams just like a week or two ago. So that's probably
congratulations.
Thanks, man. Yeah, the most monthly listeners I've ever had at any given time was 35,000, which like for a dude just doing this in your spare time, like that, it was pretty cool, you know, like. And what my most recent song was actually picked up by a Spotify editorial playlist. So like that's where, you know, like you submit
Wow.
the song and then you pitch them the song and then they add it to like one of their big playlists, you know.
Right.
So that happened to my most recent single, and like it's already being like Spotify has a bunch of algorithms where like depending on how a song does, it will then proliferate your song by putting it out into like your Discover Weekly and Release Radar and all that kind of stuff. So that's happened with a bunch of tracks, but usually it takes like a little bit of time, like to build up streams and build up traction on a song before it'll do that. But like it's already doing that with this song too. So like my newest song's hitting a lot. Like it basically hit the ground running and is doing
What's the
really
name of
well.
the song?
The name of the song is "Throw It Against the Wall." It's kind of
Okay,
a
cool, cool.
kind of
We'll
a
make sure
corny
to drop
title,
that
but
in there.
He's not a grunt.
yeah, yeah.
We'll call drop test. That's what we do.
Let me ask you this, because I know there's a ton of people in the Marine Corps that are into music, and I'm sure you probably feel that you're no different than they are to some
Oh yeah.
degree. But as far as Spotify, there's another individual that I know when I was living in South Florida, and she puts out music on Spotify. Um, but it doesn't seem like some people are putting out albums. Like, is that sort of like how it works now, where like now that there's this online streaming platforms, like the smaller people who may or not or may not have been exposed to, you know, some of the old, you know, record companies or whatever it is, like,
Mhm.
can you just start uploading single songs and sort of break through that way without having to go the traditional route of releasing an album? And can you kind
Yeah,
of speak on that?
yeah. So honestly, like that's the preferred method is to just do like one song at a time. Like Spotify will more or less reward you for doing less at once, but then more often. So like you want to increase the frequency of release, but then the number of tracks, because like the way we're all programmed as people now is like we have very, very short attention spans. And so like if you're some brand new artist that no one's heard about, like you put out an album of 12 songs, like you're going to be lucky if someone listens to, you know, 15 seconds of one song, let alone an entire album. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
the whole idea is to do things that will capture people's attention, and you know, build a relationship with your audience, and do it as frequently as possible. Like when it comes to building like a music presence, the best thing you can do is have like build a social online following, like via Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or you know whatever it is, to really connect with people. And then from there, you kind of like push your music. But if you do too much at once, you kind of scare them away, because psychologically speaking, people kind of look at like having, I'm even this way too. Like when a band releases a full album, I'm like, shoot, man, like where am I going to find 40 minutes to sit down and listen to this whole thing? Like unless like I'm working out and it's like a workout, you know, album, and I happen to be listening to it that day and choose that over my workout playlist, which good luck, you know, because I like my personal workout playlist. Like it's just not going to happen. But like I can do one song. Everybody can be like, can listen to one song. So if you put the time, energy, and attention into, you know, one song at a time, that's way better and way more productive than trying to do an album. It's like way more cost effective too, because you don't have to spend all this money making a huge album and then throw it up there and hope it's going to do well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so do you outsource that, or do you do all the editing yourself and the recording and all that stuff?
So the way it works is I have a recording studio here in my house, and I record all my songs. And then I take the tracks and I actually email them to a producer. Well, not email, I put them on Dropbox. And then he pulls the tracks, like all the raw tracks, and then he mixes them. And then he sends me back the finished product. And then I upload it through a distributor called DistroKid. And DistroKid will send your song, like it costs like $20 a year, which like is, you know, crazy cheap. It's stupid cheap. And you get to keep 100% of the profit of all the sales of your song. And they will send it everywhere. So like you upload your song on DistroKid, and it's immediately going to go to Deezer and Apple Music and Spotify and, you know, Google Play and Amazon Music and you know, it gets uploaded into Instagram stories and, you know, TikTok stories. Like they do everything for you. And so from there, like the only thing that you're really responsible for is like the marketing piece, you know, like that's what you've got to figure out is, okay, like, cool, I put my song up there because like for Spotify and all these people, like they're all about having more product. Like you're essentially giving them free product. And they're only going to pay you if people are actively listening to your song, you know, all the time. And so for them, like you can give them as much product as they want. They don't care. They only have to pay you if people are driving their traffic to your stuff. You know what I mean? So it's completely up to you to market your music and market your brand, and kind of like push that out there, which like, that's like 9 times out of 10, I'd say that's probably where most small artists just kind of drop the ball, is like they spend all their time and attention, like making the song, they throw it up there and they're like, cool, music gods, do your thing. And, you know, the industry's like, thanks. Like, you know, and then that's the end of it. You know what I mean? So it's what you do after.
I'll say, how do you take the marketing? How do you do marketing, especially being active duty? Finding the time. How much time did you spend marketing? No, you were a reservist at the time, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
When you were starting
So I didn't start doing the music thing heavily. I've played in bands like my whole, like since I was like 13. I've been playing in bands and stuff like that. But I never did anything seriously, or like, you know, I try to do stuff seriously, but I guess I didn't know what I was doing really until like a couple years ago. So I was already on active duty in 29 Palms at my first station with a platoon, being an intel officer, when I decided like I'd give this music thing a shot. And like I really just do it part-time, you know, only like I probably only invest like a few hours a week into it, in terms of like really like pushing it. But it's interesting with music marketing because you can't like be pushy about it. Like you've got to give people a reason to connect with you as an individual and you as a person, and kind of build something that like people can relate to, which is why like if you go to my Instagram account, for example, like only like maybe, I don't know, like 20% of my posts have anything to do with like music or like me, you know, playing music. And even then they're not necessarily like my song. It'll be like me covering something else or whatever. You give people a reason to believe in you and develop a relationship with you. And then naturally from there, they want to listen to your music. So it's like, there's this one guy that I'm friends with who's into music marketing that has like a YouTube channel and stuff. Who's given me a lot of advice. His name's Finn McKinty. He runs a page called the Punk Rock MBA. But he's all about music marketing and stuff. So he's kind of been like my mentor through this whole journey. And he talks about there being like this rule of like 50% of your content that you develop online should all just be about like giving engagement, like giving some people something to talk about. So like 9 times out of 10, that's like a meme, you know, like something funny that like hits an emotional note or something like that with people that, you know, drives them to want to talk about something bigger. And then you got 30% of your content, which is going to be you just talking to your audience about like, here's just what I do. Not necessarily like go listen to my music or go listen, you know, go buy my product, but just like, here's how I feel about life, or like, this is my family, like them getting to know you on like a personal level. And then like 20% or less of your content should actually be like, hey, here's my song. Hey, here's my product. Here's my merchandise. Like, go check it out. Because most people are going to tune out that part and just draw to your, you know, more engagement content, like the memes and, you know, something that they can relate to. But the more people come to that, you just kind of like, it's like a numbers game. It's like a funnel. The more people you get coming in the top end, you know, going to the engagement content, like the more numbers you have coming out the bottom. So that's kind of how I approach it. And that's kind of how I structure my content.
And how much content do you put out per day, per week?
I usually put out like at least once a day. I'm posting something. Usually 2 times a day, sometimes 3 times a day. Like if I'm really doing something.
But it's every day.
Yeah, it's every day. Like if you're gonna be serious about this kind of thing, like it's got to be a daily kind of thing. Like people, like you've got to take up the real estate. You know, occupy the key terrain in their brain. You know what I mean? Like set up your defensive positions, establish a defense in depth. You know what I mean? Like you've got to occupy the space in their brain, like hardcore. Because if they're, there's so many things competing for their attention. If you're not like the primary dominant force that's like always there, and again, like I said, it doesn't have to be like your music content. It's just you doing your daily thing. Like they just need to be reminded that like you exist. And the more they think about you existing, the more they're going to be interested in your stuff. There's like a rule of marketing that it takes between 7 and 11 impressions of like contacts, you talking to people, before they'll actually take any action on what you're doing. So,
yeah, I really like, I like that sort of breakdown of, you know, ratios as far as, you know, your engagement. That's really interesting because it's something I struggle with, and I'm sure a lot of people struggle with, all in all. But I mean, I follow your page and you do a good job. I mean, I can't say that I remember more music posts than miscellaneous posts. I mean, there's always like something, I mean, there's always something eye-catching on your page, right? Like the other day you posted your face painting, you're about to go game with your face paint on. I'm like, this guy doesn't give a crap. But it makes me like, well, what else does he do? You know, like what is it about this guy? You know, like, so it's definitely effective. It's definitely something that I'm going to take to heart and try to implement.
Yeah, for sure.
So moving on, going with the gaming piece. I know this is a relatively new venture for you, but how did this come about?
So it kind of came about because so I hadn't played video games in years, like years and years and years until Modern Warfare came out last year or whenever it came out. And I just started playing like with me and some of my college friends, and then I'd even play with my Marines online, you know, a few times. Like that'd be like our shop weekly.
1v1 for NJP? Oh man.
I just started doing it for fun, and I noticed that like a lot of my followers kept asking about it. Like I would get like at least 2 messages a day from like random people just being like, "Hey, do you play Call of Duty?" And I was like, "Yeah," but and I started noticing that like, especially when the COVID thing hit, and I noticed that a lot of like other, you know, like music artists and other just creatives in the industry, like we're looking for more ways to connect to their audience than like also monetize that in a way. Twitch kept being the thing that just I kept noticing kept coming up over and over and over and over again. And so, you know, not everybody connects to like the gaming piece. And like, I'm not even really like a big avid gamer myself, but like I play pretty regularly. It doesn't take up a huge chunk of my time, but so I set up a Twitch account and I like went through, I swear, like a little quick tangent, like everything in this industry, as I'm sure you guys know, sitting here for a podcast, like nothing is easy. It's just like the Marine Corps, like nothing is easy, you know, like trying to, like, it's not just a matter of like, oh, I pushed this button, all of a sudden now I'm up on Twitch and, you know, they can see these cool overlays and templates and, you know, all these, like, you have to create and personalize and construct everything. I've learned more about computers and videography and like all kinds, like that kind of stuff that I never thought I'd ever be paying any attention to. Like learned way more about that doing this kind of stuff than I ever thought would be possible. But yeah, I got into it because, like I said, people were asking me to, and I just was like, sure, man, like I'll do it. And so far I've, you know, it's brand new, but like, it's kind of created this place where like my followers can just hang out and, you know, like Twitch has the chat inside it. And so while I'm playing games, like, you know, they can ask me questions and I can talk to them. I can answer their questions directly. And then I even invite fans to come play with me. So like, you know, my like diehard, like true believer fans that are like in this with me, like I get to reward them with, you know, like playing a game with them, which for them, they think is really, really cool, you know?
Well, yeah, I think as well, you know, I see what you did here is pretty like genius. You know, you structured your social media, like you said, and people weren't actually, not that they're not falling in love with your music, they fall in love with you. So that makes you the brand. And so, yeah, you can do music, but there's a people that also want to do music and want to do gaming. And now you take them to gaming, and as you're speaking with them and having these intimate conversations while you're playing and having a good time, they're probably going to play your music more. And it all feeds into each other, basically to yourself, the brand. So, nice.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the key thing is that they're invested in you.
Right.
And that's what you've built, you know, and that's something that's interesting. But I want to touch back on this Spotify, because I'm on Spotify for this podcast, right? But the thing with Spotify and a podcast is that it could be monetized differently, right? And so you can break up the podcast with different advertisements. You can actually have people basically that you negotiate with, and then you can add in a spoken read out pod or advertisement. As far as music goes, how is it structured in Spotify for you to monetize, right? Because you can't put an ad in the middle of a song, right? Like,
right. Yeah, so the advertise, like, it's all built on algorithms, and you get paid per stream. Like, you get a fraction of a cent. I think it's like 0.004 dollars is what you make. So you're making like a little less than half a cent per stream, which, seems like pretty piss poor. But then when you consider there's like mainstream artists, that get like 600 million streams on a song, like that adds up really quick. So it's all a numbers game. But the way it works is, like, depending on how a song does, like if a lot of people are listening to it, and if it's naturally getting added to a lot of independent playlists, and then those playlists get, like, your song is played on those playlists, like Spotify has this algorithm that tracks all of that. And then it pays attention to like what those listeners are listening to. And then it will just take your song and it will automatically put it on what's called Discover Weekly, which is like a weekly playlist that comes out, and it's personalized for every single listener. And your song will just get placed on that playlist. Like, for example, I've got a song that I released, that I wrote about PTSD and losing, friends in the military, that I wrote about a year and a half ago. And that song still gets put out on Discover Weekly. Like at least once a month, I see this huge spike in numbers, like it plays. Because Spotify like the algorithm picks it back up and then pushes it back out. Like I'm about to hit 300,000 streams with this one song. It's been my best one. But that's just like, it happened kind of naturally. Like when I first got started, I think like this is the painful parts when you always first get going. You know what I mean? Like getting your first 100 listeners, getting your first 1,000 listeners, like those are the milestones that are hard. And what I did for that first little bit is I would look up playlists, that I thought were similar to my kind of music, and like just independent playlists, because I knew I didn't really have a chance. Like you only get one shot to pitch your song to a Spotify playlist, and if they don't pick it up, like the Spotify curated playlist, and if they don't pick it up right off the bat, then like that's it. You only get one shot to pitch it to them. So I was going after independent playlist curators who had a lot of followers. Like, I'd find playlists that had like 5,000 followers or 10,000 followers. And I find out, like, it says like they have a username and a screen name for who runs the playlist. And so I would just take that name and I drop it in Instagram or Facebook, and I would try to hunt these guys down on social media.
You recon them?
What's that?
You recon them?
Yeah.
But dad jokes, I'm sorry.
Recondom.
And I didn't want to be that annoying guy who was just like some rando who was just like hitting up being like, hey man, listen to my song, like put it on your playlist. So I would add them first, and then I would make sure I would comment on their content multiple times, like on social media, to show that like, hey, like I'm not just some douchebag. I want to have a relationship with you too. And then I'd let them know like, yeah, I've got a song. I've been following your playlist for a while now, and it'd be awesome if you could put it on there. And I was shocked at how many people were just like, okay, yeah, cool. Like, they have like a playlist of like 10,000 people. Like, not everybody said yes. And some people completely blew me off, like ignored me entirely. But like, like 1 out of 10 would just be like, sure, man. And like, I didn't have to pay them anything. Like 1 or 2 would be like, yeah, I actually run this as a business. So, for like a small fee or whatever, you can throw it on there. But I did that with enough people right in the beginning that like, that's what helped my songs initially get traction, was being put on larger, independent playlists that already had organic listeners, and it wasn't a lot of people, like in a month, you'd only have like 200 listeners from this playlist, or, maybe like 150 listeners from this playlist. But I got on enough of those playlists that like, that told Spotify's algorithm like, hey, my music is worth listening to. You should take it and push it out there. And that's what happened. So.
That's genius, man. Like, even just the song is important, but the way you went about marketing it and strategically placing it in places where, you say, 200 is nothing, but in my head, that's 200 people. You know what I mean? But you really did a great job at figuring that out, and hopefully this information here is gonna, get the next Spotify list. I might make a song after this. I don't know what, but you make it sound like, hey, that there's a blueprint.
Yeah.
Well, it's very practical. But like, I don't know anything about Twitch, but I mean, does it work the same? Is it still follower based? Is it like, how does that work?
Yeah, so Twitch is like, I'm still trying to figure that out. Like, it's its own animal, and I know there is some kind of algorithm-based sort of thing that like that will put your content like higher on streaming pages. But if I'm being honest, I haven't researched it too much. But the way it works is like you can have like you have followers and you have paid subscriptions, and Twitch is weird. Again, like I'm not naturally a gamer, so it's like a brand new landscape for me. But like people can just choose to pay you monthly just to support what you're doing because they like you. And
That's
they're like,
insane.
the community on Twitch is like, they just do that all the time. There's this one guy, like you've probably heard of the guy Ninja. He's like one of the top gamers. He makes like $270,000 a month just off of people paying him money, like just for subscriptions. Like it's free to watch his channel, but people will just choose to pay him anyway. And then they also have, Twitch also has this donation button. So like, on the platform, like while they're playing or while they're streaming, you know, whatever there is they're doing, like you can just donate to them. And I've even experienced that already where I'm just like doing my thing, talking to people, and people just drop a donation. I'm kind of like
you gotta show anything? You just
yeah, I'm kind of like, dude, thanks, man. Like, and you're almost kind of like that was weird, but like also kind of cool, you know? But
yeah,
and that's just kind of like the culture on there. But again, it's about building your own personal brand on there, just like with the music and everything else. Like you got to be the kind of guy that like the kind of person that people like and they respond to, you know, and because people want that like personal relationship. Like it's not like it was 10, 15 years ago where people viewed celebrities as like these unreachable people. Like now people view, you know, quote, celebrities as like someone to interact with. And it's, you know, and if you do that with your fans, then like they respond to that. And with Twitch, I'm still like studying up on it, but it seems like one of the key things to do is like you set goals with your fans where it's like, all right, you know, I want to set a goal of like achieving this much money so that way maybe I can buy this next thing, you know, to make the stream this much better. Or, you know, it's like I'm looking to get this many followers or this many, like you kind of like make it like an event, and so they feel like they're on the journey with you. Because when people feel like they're on your creative journey with you and they get to contribute, like that to them it's pretty big, you know. And I've also got this thing on my channel where it's like it tracks who the last person to donate was and also like who the highest donation was. You know what I mean? So and those names just stay up there, you know, the entire time I'm playing. So
gotcha.
It creates a race for being the last person, and then it creates to being the person. That's cool, man.
Who wants to be on the podium?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. So
for these big streamers, you know, like the massive ones where it's like more competitive, like I know of some dumb Lance Corporal out here who paid a Twitch streamer $500 in a single sitting just so he could be like the top name up there. And it was like, dude, I know like you don't make shit for money. That was horrible.
How did counseling go?
That's like what the community on there does. It's weird. Like I don't understand it, but you know, like I feel like if I don't dive into it, like I'm missing an opportunity. And it's like what I've got to lose. It's me playing video games, you know, and I can also I can stream me recording music too. Like I've done that a couple of times where I stream.
That's smart.
Yeah, so like I'll invite people on my Instagram where it's like, hey, I'm going to be recording a song. You know, like for anyone who wants to like watch me go through the ass bleeding process of writing and recording a song, like it's going to be ugly and you're going to laugh at me, but like this, you know, here's what I'm going to do. And like I've had a couple of people like jump on and just like sit with me for like 4 hours to 5 hours at a time.
Oh my
and it blows
God.
my mind. I'm like, oh, you're still here. Like,
you still go home.
Yeah. I'm like, don't you have better things to do? Like, but you know, like
that's
whatever.
Cool.
I'm grateful for it, you know? So
what kind of games do you play? Are you competitive or you just kind of do adventures or?
Honestly, just the shooters. Like I really only play Call of Duty. Like it's
okay.
kind of lame, but you know, like when I was younger, I used to play a lot of different kind of like, you know, strategy games and adventure games and whatever else. But I don't know, with everything else I'm doing in life, like I don't have too much time to dive into that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, like what I'm kind of realizing about the creative content realm is like it's just about creating as many different ways to monetize and create revenue streams. Because on top of this, like I also have like a Patreon where I release like exclusive content. You know, and if you're a patron, then you can go and you can hear like unreleased music, and you can vote on like what cover song I do next, and you can like, so you can, have a little bit more of a personal relationship there. And then I've also got like, the merchandise I do, which, I just create all my own designs and everything like that, and, sell it that way. So it's all like, it's a lot of stuff going on, but it all kind of grows simultaneously. Like it's a self-feeding machine, because I've tried to structure it around building a brand around myself, and then also building a brand around like an idea. Like I'm very much, a pro-military, pro-freedom, communist-hating, terrorist-fighting, like if you identify with that kind of lifestyle, whether you like you may not like the music, that's cool. You can still like the gaming, or you can still just like hanging out with me. Like I got some people that follow my page that were like, they don't care about anything I do. They're just really interested in the military. And like, I coach them on like, here's how you prepare for boot camp. Here's how you do that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, cause it all just kind of feeds into each other.
Yeah, man. I got on 2014, and so I missed the whole Instagram thing. And so when I started going heavy on social media again, I'm like, who are all these famous Marines? But it's amazing that what you can do, and like these people, everybody knows them, and you're one of them, So it's you're killing it. You're doing a great job, and this is everything you're saying. Like I can use wherever I'm at, or anybody who's listening to this right now can take exactly whatever product or service they're offering, and that's their blueprint to make it right there.
Yep. Yeah, there's a Marine out here in 29 Palms who he does a lot of fitness stuff. His like little handle is Brazilian Blue, I think is his username. But he does some crazy like calisthenics stuff. He just does like a lot of calisthenic workouts. He offers like personal training and fitness advice. But the dude, like, he's really fun to watch just to work out, because the dude does like back flips and like all kinds of just like crazy looking things like while he works out. But he posts these videos on Instagram, and he's only been doing this for 6 months, and he's already got like 200,000 followers on Instagram.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Yeah, and I ran into him the other day just because like I saw him on Instagram first, and I was coming out of the gym and I saw him and I was like, dude, hey, I know you. Like I know your face. It was kind of a funny thing, because he was weirded out that I knew him, and he's a corporal and I'm a lieutenant. So there, and I'm like, I'm your fan, and he's like, thanks, sir. Like, it was kind of like this weird. I don't know, it was cool though. Like we got to hang out and talk for a little bit, and like it's definitely created like a new dynamic. And honestly, like I'm brand new to the social media thing too. I'd never even opened an Instagram. Like I've never even opened Instagram until like 2 years ago. Like I made my first song, and then I made an Instagram account, because I was like, well, I guess I better see what all the kids are talking about. You know what I mean? So
about me and TikTok right now, but pretty soon my daughter's gonna have me doing dances. So
yeah, TikTok. Wow, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never.
I just started.
Is that something you take advantage of?
Yeah, I'm kind of hesitant with it right now, because like President Trump just put out the ban, and I guess they've got 45 days to figure. So I'm kind of like I pumped the brakes on it a little bit, but yeah, that TikTok's weird because it's just about like consuming visual content, and I had an account for a while and didn't really know what to do with it, because like the videos and types of things that do well on Instagram don't necessarily do well on TikTok. But I posted a video of, because I'm at Tank Battalion, I got to see like the last tank, leave the ramp, and like we got to say goodbye to tanks in the Marine Corps. And so like I was there for that, and I filmed it, and I put it on TikTok, and then like set it to music, and then just put a little caption, like saying goodbye to the last tank in the Marine Corps. And like I used the right hashtags, and that got over 300,000 views. And I gained like 3,000 followers overnight. And I was like, wow. Whoa. I was like, and then I had a couple other videos where I kind of repeated that exact same thing, and like the same thing happened. But what I've noticed about TikTok is like your community there, I don't think is as valuable, because like they're just there to consume like very rapid, fast-paced content, and like your audience is almost more interested in talking to each other than they are talking to you or understanding who you are and what you do, because you're almost like a TV channel on TikTok, where it's like it's not quite as personal. They just they want something fast and quick from you. And so I haven't invested as much into it, because I don't know what the return on TikTok is, if it's worth it yet. You know what I mean? That, and I also I run out of ideas pretty quick, because I'm not some attractive female in a scantily clad outfit, shaking my booty to whatever the latest song is. And
have you tried it yet? I mean, you never know.
Yeah, true. I don't think would look favorably on that, but hey, whatever.
He's a Marine chick she's going to town, man. She's been on.
So I met her.
No way.
What?
Yeah. So we're actually friends on Instagram and TikTok and all that now. So I made a cover. Like when that first came out, I made a metal cover. The He's a Marine thing, and I actually did my own little dance to it and everything. I was just goofing around.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, it was one of my better performing YouTube videos, which was kind of funny. But anyway, she commented. She commented on my Instagram post. I didn't know it was her at first because she was using like some meme account, and she was like, "Hey, she's actually getting a lot of hate," and she was, and I was like, she was kind of like defending, herself.
The burner account.
And I was like, oh, I have no doubt. I was like, she seems like a lovely girl. She's obviously very cute. Like, I support, like, her husband's a Marine, so, like, they seem like great people. And she's like, oh, you're actually a nice person. And then she sent me an email. She's like, hey, I'm actually the girl that made that video. Like, here's what I'm doing. And we got talking. She's a really cool person. Her husband's a great guy. I've talked to him several times. And I helped them create their own, like, little merchandise website for it and everything like that.
Nice.
So, yeah, so it was one of those, it's like a weird experience, you don't, like I never thought I would end up talking to her and him, but like they ended up reaching out to me on, Instagram because I made a cover of their video. And it's a weird dynamic. You can just like get connected with people, so. Yeah,
that's crazy. I mean, that video has gone viral. Like I'm hoping, and based on what you just said, but I'm hoping she's monetized herself to some, can't speak, to some capacity. I mean, whether it's I don't even know. I hope she's on Instagram. I hope she's on all the other. I haven't followed her. I haven't really followed the video other than what I've seen on YouTube. Yeah. And the YouTube video is like it's insane.
Yeah.
To her credit, she owned it. Yeah, to her credit, she owned it well, and I think that really helped her out.
100%. Yeah, because like we talked for a little bit because she was like, she received a lot of hate initially, and where like people were almost like telling her that she should go kill herself, and like just a lot of ugly comments, like they were attacking her religion and attacking him, her husband. She was almost like to the point where she was like, I feel like I should just delete all this and get off social media. And I was like, look, you can do that and you can like run away with your tail tucked between your legs. I was like, or you can view this as an opportunity and like make the most out of it. I was like, because basically you're like the Rebecca Black of the military right now. Like Rebecca.
That's such a good analogy.
Yeah. Where it's like at first everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever made. But then like over time, people are like, well, that was great. You know what I mean? Like there's people getting He's a Marine tattoos now. Like it's becoming one of those things where it was like disgusting at first, but then like as time goes on, it becomes like sort of a charming kind of like inside joke with everybody.
Yeah, ages well.
Yeah, exactly. So she's owned it and like she's grown her TikTok following pretty significantly, and she's started Instagram since then. And so yeah, she's making the most of it. It's been pretty cool to watch.
It sounds like you were part of the reason. Like that's pretty cool. You counseled her to stick in there. Like, good job.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it was. I'm glad she reached out to me. Because she was kind of at this point where she was like didn't really know what to do. But her and her husband are awesome people. Like, if you talk to them, they're totally normal people. They're not like they're not weirdos or anything. So.
Yeah, I was because I still work on a military base, but like people were making all sorts of jokes and whatever, and even about him, and it's like, listen, like what they did was innocent. I mean, was it cringy and all that stuff? Yeah, maybe it was to some people, like,
absolutely.
But I mean, the bottom line, it wasn't distasteful. It wasn't like it was something that like brought discredit upon the Marine Corps or the service or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it was. You know what I mean?
It was funny.
Yeah,
it was funny. The look in the guy's face was the funny part.
Yeah,
I think as a husband, we've all had that look, just not on camera. We've all done so. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. So anyways, needless to say, like that stuff's unwarranted. Like it's a shame that it got to that point. But I mean, how the interwebs are. They can be pretty brutal. But
everyone's a tough guy on the internet.
What's that?
Everyone's a tough guy on the internet.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Especially when they're in the military, you know,
Yeah.
when they've served on, you know, whatever deployments that they have nowadays. I don't even know what's going on in the world.
Bahrain?
I couldn't tell you.
Special
I
MAGTF, SP MAGTF still going on?
yeah, like that's the most exciting one. You know, other than that, like, you know, Murph D going to like Australia, do like a rotational like train deployment, or going on a MEU, or going to Norway. And yeah, all of our deployments are just training deployments. So it's like, is it really a deployment? You know what I mean? Like, even when I did my deployment to Iraq back in 2009, like we went to Ramadi and Fallujah, but like we were kind of there at the tail end of it. Like we were the last infantry battalion in the Anbar province, and like we kind of closed down the show. And like when we left, we had things over the Iraqi police. And as we left, I remember, like, you know, we got shot at a few times, and there were a couple little, like, you know, close calls or whatever. But like, I remember leaving thinking like, wow, that was really easy. Like I was not scared once. You know what I mean? Like I was like, this is like a total pogue deployment. And so, and it's funny because when I tell people my deployment stories now, they're like, wow, so you were like in a war. I'm like, well, I wouldn't say that, you know, like.
There was a boom in the distance.
Yeah, people shot their weapons. What? You know, like, to them that just like blows their minds, you know. So.
That's cool. Well, Chandler, why don't you tell us where we can reach you?
So yeah, you can reach me just Militant Me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Spotify. You can follow me on Twitter too, at The Real Militant Me. Yeah, just Facebook, but really like most of my stuff happens on Instagram, Spotify, and then, you know, any streaming service. I got a YouTube channel as well, but it's all under the same name, Militant Me. So yeah, come check it out. I'd love it.
Awesome. And then Elvin, I'm going to steal your thunder. If you could give one piece of advice to somebody who's maybe trying to come up in that particular world, whether it's music, whether it's Twitch, I know you're new to Twitch, but at least on social media, if they're looking to promote themselves to eventually, hopefully monetize themselves to some capacity, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, tell yourself that you're going to do this for a matter of years, and don't let the fact that like your first, you know, however many 100 pieces of content goes completely unnoticed affect you. Because like, you know, I had my first song up online for months and months and months and months with no stream. So like, don't get discouraged if you don't get an immediate response. This stuff takes time. It doesn't happen overnight.
It's a great point. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Guys, if you know, all the viewers out there, all the audio listeners, check him out. We'll put his contact information in the show notes. Elvin, any parting comments?
Really learned like, it's great when you can sit down and just speak with somebody who's like, everything you're saying is actually going to be helping myself and probably Scott. We're probably going to be doing like a Instagram review and just see how it's looking like. But I do appreciate that. Thanks for all the words and gems that you dropped today.
Yeah, you bet, guys. Sky Elvin, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right, Chandler, take care, buddy.
Yeah, you too, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye now.
Like what you heard, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Veteran Entrepreneur Podcast, brought to you by DotMilGear.com.